Okay, so we're almost done. Now that we've done the eyes and the gills, it's time to do the lower part of the head. So 3 more rows, but one of them is a little different. The next one we'll do is a row of 8 body beads. Scooch them closer to the bead animal. And using the other string, go through, going towards the body. So starting at the end bead, making our circle one more time. Pinch and scooch so they all go through. Remember, we're doubling up the strings, so there's one coming out of each end. And so we can pull and make that big circle. There we go. Pull it tight. And now it's starting to get smaller. The next row is 7 body beads. Count them out and string them onto either side. Now it's time to make the circle. Using the other string, go through the beads toward the bead animal. This time, instead of pulling the circle tight, leave it loose like this. It kind of looks like the axolotl's mouth is open. If this step seems a little too tricky for you, you can always skip it and just leave the circle the way it is and move on to the next row of 4. But doing this little loop trick that I'm going to show you helps to make the bead animal lay flatter when it's done. Pull the beads apart like this. We want a chunk in the middle and 1 bead pushed out on either side. Take the string from one side and skip that first bead and go through the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. We're also going to skip the 6th bead. If it doesn't really want to go through, don't worry. Wiggle it around and try to line up the strings so they're even. That'll make it easier. Pull the string so the loop is like this. We don't want it too tight yet. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Skip that first bead. We don't want to go through it. We want to go through the chunk in the middle. Because there's so many strings going through there, it might be hard to do this part. So remember, if you get frustrated, just skip it. It's okay. But if you can, go through all the beads and pull those strings. You want it to look kind of like the axolotl's wearing a bow tie. Now grab onto the top of the bow and pull. That's going to tighten up the beads so they're closer to the head, just like this. You can then either hold on to it or push your hand down to pull on one of the strings to disappear the loop. And then do the same thing on the other side. They might pull in perfectly, but they might also get twisted. If that happens, you can loosen it back up and try to wiggle it around to make it lay flatter. One of my sides is a little twisted. So I made the loops again and wiggled it around, and now it looks much better. Perfect. That looks great. You've got a string coming out of both sides and a little loop on the end bead. That makes it easier to move on to the neck. That one's only going to have 4 body beads. So get your 4 beads ready, set them aside, and start stringing them onto either end. Push them close to the bead animal, grab the opposite string, and going toward the bead animal, make your circle. Wiggle it around so that the strings are even and you have your circle, and then pull it tight. To finish up for this week, you're going to make a loose loop knot. This will make sure none of the beads fall off, but it's also easy to take off later. Any questions, feel free to reach out. Try to get the head done by the time we see each other next week, and then we'll be able to move on to the body.